All right. Good morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I'm Didi Kai, founder of Fit to Profit. And with me today, I have a very special guest to contribute to our conversation about wealth being, how to generate profit by creating impact. And our special guest today, she suffered from an autoimmune disease. And by that, she had learned how to eliminate hundreds of toxins and she reversed her own pain. She's also an award-winning author, an international bestseller, a health coach, a speaker, a TV host, and a guest podcaster. She has written 4 books on health and wellness with toxins and has her own podcast. And it feels good to feel good. She specifically works with clients with chronic illnesses, giving them hope and help to find solutions. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Cheryl, and welcome.
Thank you for having me, Didi. I love to talk to people about this. When I got sick, I was a solopreneur. I had my own business. I was designing jewelry and selling it to all the big box jewelers, to Macy's and JCPenney and Amazon and Kohl's. And I was going 24/7 and I was taking care of everything but me. And so I just actually spoke at a conference in Scottsdale, and I said, you can't be great if you don't feel great, because if you don't take care of yourself, you don't have the stuff in you to take care of your business, your clients, your bottom line, the whole thing. You have to make sure that you practice self-care the entire time, because otherwise it catches up. I woke up one morning and literally couldn't get out of bed. Everything in my body hurt. And I had a conventional doctor who said, I'm going to give you steroids, but I really want you to get mental therapy. I said, there's nothing wrong with my brain, but there is definitely something wrong with my body, and I'm going to find it. And so for 5 years, I was lucky. I had a staff well-trained. I went in once a week and said, you guys are doing a great job. And I researched. And I fell into the functional medical community, which honestly saved my life. I watched 19 different symposiums with multiple doctors. The first thing that hit me was they all became functional because they all got sick and couldn't help themselves. So I thought, okay, I might be on the right track here. And then they started talking things I had no idea about: leaky gut, toxic load, autoimmune disease. I thought, it sounds like I have autoimmune disease, and it ends up I do. There's 140 named autoimmune diseases, but me, I got one called undefined, because I have a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B and a little bit from column C. So I didn't fit into a box, but the functional medical community doesn't care because they look at the whole body. And so I knew I had a stress problem. Friends had been pulling me aside and saying, stress accumulates and you better start doing something about your stress level now. Well, it ends up my cortisol was so used up, I was almost to Addison's disease. And so I started with stress. I learned a series of little exercises. I do one every morning and one every afternoon, because we all have stress, but if you allow it to become chronic or toxic is when it becomes a problem. So my favorite is Dr. Andrew Weil's 478 breathing exercise. And you can look that up right on YouTube and learn it with him until it gets real comfortable to do. But it only takes 4 minutes and it resets your parasympathetic nervous system and lets the top off your stress. So that's where I started. From there, I dug into a database called EWG.org, the Environmental Working Group. Not exactly user-friendly, but they have hundreds of thousands of items that they have rated for toxicity. Wow. And I literally started looking up every single thing in my house, discovering how toxic it was, starting with my face cosmetics, which were very expensive and French, and a 9 on a 10-point scale. I was literally poisoning myself right through my skin. And then I decided I was going to go to food, because I didn't understand the difference between conventional, organic, and genetically modified. And I wanted to understand it. And genetically modified had been on the ballot in California, and there was so much misinformation, it lost. And so that's what I wanted to start with. And it's pretty disgusting when you find out what genetically modified is. It means it's generally one of two things. It has branched out into some other poisons now, but most of them either are grown with Bt toxin right in them. And what happens with Bt toxin is the bug bites it and it blows them up. But when it gets into your gut, it also blows up all your good gut bacteria, which you need for your body to operate. And that's why we're losing all our bees and our butterflies, because, and we have no bees and butterflies, we have no crop pollinators. So that's a bit of a problem. And then the second kind of genetically modified is called Roundup Ready. And 2 years ago, Monsanto lost a lawsuit because it was discovered that Roundup, they'd known for 25 years that Roundup caused cancer. They'd known it. It came out in discovery. And so they lost the lawsuit, and Bayer bought them in the transition and has now paid out $80 billion to other people who have gotten cancer. But I just read this morning that they won one lawsuit, so they're going to stop paying out to the people in the future who get cancer from it. But Roundup is sprayed heavily on genetically modified crops, one of which is wheat. Wheat is drenched in Roundup, so all your crackers and your bread products and your white flour and your brown flour, all that stuff, it doesn't get washed off. It gets harvested with Roundup on it. And the reason they drench the crop is because they get a bigger yield while they're poisoning us. So I wouldn't eat anything with flour that wasn't organic to save my soul. I don't need that toxin load in my body. So those were the first two amazing things I discovered. Then I got into organic. Was organic really worth the money? And you can find a whole lot of articles that no, it's not, and that's bull. A study at Berkeley last year came out that not only does organic produce, it's better for the environment, it's better for the climate. The poisons are not going down to our groundwater, out to our streams, out to our oceans, killing all the life along the way. But when all of those chemicals, eating chemicals, it's not a good idea to me. I don't want to be poisoned by what's on my food. So if you're buying organic, you're eliminating most of that. And those things are sprayed heavily on our conventional crops. So I don't always buy certified organic. I go to a lot of farmers markets and I talk to the farmers and find out what are they doing so that they don't have to use all those chemicals. But my body is, my husband teases me that I'm like a smoke alarm in a 50-mile radius. If there's something toxic on my food, my body immediately reacts. So we've eliminated all of that. And you like to buy organic because it's regenerative, it's much better on the farmer, it's much better on the community, it's much better on the planet, and it's much easier and healthier for your body. So all the way around, it's a win-win-win. Conventional, if you, the first thing people say to me is, I can't afford it. I cannot possibly afford it. So I actually have come up with 30 ways to save on organic food. But what you have to remember, the first thing I read that hit me was, you can't afford not to. Have you passed out cancer lately? If you keep eating all that stuff that comes from conventional farms, it's going to catch up to you because it all has to go through your liver, and as goes the liver, goes the body. So it doesn't make sense for you to eat that. But EWG, same place I was looking at all my toxins, every year puts out a Dirty Dozen Clean 15. So start there. It changes every year. If it's on the Dirty Dozen, and I think the Dirty Dozen now has 18 items on it because they couldn't decide which ones were the worst. If it's on the dirty side, absolutely you spend your organic money there. If it's on the clean side, I still buy it organic, but that's a choice. You do not have to. It is less chemical infested than the rest of what you're going to buy at the grocery store. So you get to make that choice. And then there's a huge area in between.
Yes.
But there is a database that the United States government puts out called What's on My Food. And you can type in broccoli and find out how many chemicals are sprayed on it, how many of them are neurotoxins, how many of them are killing the bees and the butterflies, how many of them are killing all your gut bacteria. It's like, oh my God, when you read the statistics, because it's not pretty, and it will convince you to start to go through your budget and find places where you can save money so that you can afford to buy quality food, because food quality matters and your body will be much happier and jubilant if you feed it the right stuff. So you get to make decisions, but start with the Dirty Dozen Clean 15 and then ask yourself every morning, how are you feeling? I do that every morning. And if I'm feeling a little bit off, then I know I need to eat more vegetables. I need to see if there's any chemicals that have eked into my food supply. I clean it up right away because I'm worth it. And so are you.
Yes, 100%. So, Cheryl, where do you see the future of health and wellness now that we have advocates like yourself, like out there speaking on this stuff, teaching us all and providing, honestly, what you just shared for the last 5-7 minutes was resources that most of us don't have access to.
Oh, you do. Most of it I found on the computer. The difference is when I was researching, which started 9 years ago, which is when I woke up and I couldn't move, it's a lot of it's been blocked now. Google has invested in the pharmaceutical companies. Amazon has invested in the pharmaceutical. So if you know what you're looking for, you can find anything. And I have people that I go to get information. Most of them are functional. And the difference between a functional and a conventional doctor, my doctor went to Yale. That's where she got her medical degree. But like the rest of them, she got sick, couldn't help herself, and went back for the additional functional training. They look at the whole body. When you go to a conventional doctor, if you have a problem with your thyroid, they're only going to deal with your thyroid. Functional doctor isn't only going to deal with your thyroid. They want to figure out what went wrong so that your thyroid got sick. They look at the entire body, and it ends up, there's a wonderful book I found in the beginning by a woman named Dr. Libby Weaver. She is a biochemist, and she wrote a book where she starts with the liver. She tells you what the function of the liver is, what you can do to keep the liver healthy, what you can eat to keep the liver healthy, and then how what it does will impact the pancreas. And then she goes to the pancreas and she does the same thing. And she goes through the whole body so that you get a really strong picture of the web of how everything in your body operates together. I just did 3 podcasts on liver because I think it's an underestimated organ in terms of how important it is to our body. Do you know the #1 cause of heart disease is fatty liver?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a healthy liver, you've got other things going seriously wrong in your body. And so you need to be aware of it. Your liver is where your cholesterol, your triglycerides, your high blood pressure, all that stuff starts in the liver. And it's the clearinghouse for all the toxins. It does an amazing job until it just can't keep up anymore. Yes. And when it can't keep up anymore, it starts to stuff it into your fat and your bones. And when it can't even find room there for it, then it doesn't know what to do with it. And that's when disease begins, because you're so out of balance. And if you think symptoms are just little warning flags, symptoms mean disease is already on its way. So if you have symptoms, and one of my free gifts today is 20 things that will tell you you're not as healthy as you think you are. They were all the things I missed as I was getting sick. Well, those symptoms weren't just little red flags. Those symptoms were saying, hey, pay attention to me. You've got disease starting. You are out of balance. And if you don't do something now, it's going to get bad. And I didn't pay attention to it. I got hit by the 2x4 and it got bad. So pay attention to what your body is telling you. The body is very smart. It's really kind of amazing how smart the body is. Yes. So listen to it.
Yes. So what I heard was get information, get yourself educated, right? Like
my first book has a huge resource section at the end of it of all the people I follow, what I follow them for. And if you want to get information and you're not finding it when you're searching, buy my book, go to the back of my book, and all of the people that I studied to get myself well are listed there, and they have robust websites of their own, and things are changing constantly. I am learning every day. And so keep yourself, get their newsletters, get involved, follow them on Facebook, follow them on Instagram, get yourself so that health is a priority for you, so that you know what's happening and then you can do it. I'd love to think that functional medicine is the future, but here's the rub.
Yes.
Although they do have pharmaceuticals in their toolbox, it's not where they start. And so there's not as much money in it as there is in conventional medicine. Pharmaceuticals run medical schools. So your main source of information for your conventional doctor is his pharmaceutical rep. And there's a lot of money in that. And there's a lot of money in keeping you sick. And pharmaceuticals don't heal, they don't cure, they just mitigate symptoms. So you need to own your own body, which a functional doctor can help you do, but don't be afraid to research and find out. There's a whole lot of things you can do for yourself that will plant fertile soil for you to grow health. And if you take the ownership of your body that way, it's amazing what you can do. I always will have autoimmune disease. That's never going to go away. I went over the top into toxic load and I can't go back, but I don't have pain anymore. And that's enormous. I had such bad pain, I could not operate at all. And that's all gone. And obviously I've got a lot of energy. So I'm 70, I'm almost 73. I turned 73 next month and I feel better than I did in my 50s. And it really comes from, and it's not complicated. I eat right. 70% of what I eat is plant food. I do eat meat, but I only eat meat that eats his own specific diet. So I eat grass-fed, grass-finished beef and buffalo. Ends up chicken's a sensitivity, so I can't eat it. But if I did eat it, I would only eat the ones who run free in the field. I do eat turkey. I eat a lot of wild fish. We have an incredible fishmonger back in LA that her family's been in the fish business her whole life, so she knows if it's farmed, if it's chemical, if it's wild, if it's good. She knows everything about it. So we eat really well. And people are always asking me, are you guys deprived? My husband laughs. He said, I've never eaten this well in my whole life, because we cook our own food and we eat for health. And so we eat the whole rainbow. It's super important because each color has different gifts for the body. I try to eat as close to the farm as I can. Now that's easy. I live in California and Arizona, so I have farms to eat from. If you're on the East Coast, not so easy, but I try to buy it as close to when it was picked as possible. And I have a hierarchy. If you can't go to the farm, you go to the farmer's market. If you can't get it from the farmer's market, you get it from a CSA box or a co-op. If you can't do that, you buy organic in your grocery store. If I can only get it and it's flown here from Chile, then that's what I eat as long as it's organic, because I want the phytonutrients that that plant has to offer. That's the gift of the universe to our bodies. They produce the phytonutrients for themselves, but they do all kinds of great things for us. And so you want to make sure you eat all the colors fairly close together, because they get together in your body and they have a party.
Yeah.
No pharmaceutical company is going to tell you that, and they rule medicine. But the reason our healthcare system is so broken, honestly, is because we're not eating right. 88% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy. That's why we've been hit so hard with COVID. We're 37th in the world in health. And it's because of the standard American diet, which is all a chemical storm. I was going to say a bad word there. It's a bad storm in your body. You need the phytonutrients. You don't need all those words on processed food that you can't read and don't know what they are, because your body doesn't know what they are either.
And
So,
based on what you shared earlier too, even if you can read wheat, that is no good for you.
actually, I do eat wheat, but I'm also lucky there. I have an organic bakery here in Sedona, and I have an organic bakery in Pasadena in California. So we do go and we do get bakery goods. I am not gluten sensitive. So I'm lucky. But yeah, I would no more buy regular bread at the grocery store than the man in the moon, because I don't want glyphosate in my body.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. All right. Cheryl, I think you covered the whole gamut from like beginning to end in terms of how to really balance everything from managing stress to understanding diet and understanding, how the body really works and ultimately being your own advocate, right? Like being an
Absolutely.
informed
I'm a
advocate.
huge believer that if you own your own, doesn't when you should have a partnership with your doctor, and your doctor will be a little bit surprised that you want to have a partnership with him because he's not used to that.
Yes.
But it's your body, and no matter how many patients he has, nobody lives inside of you but you. So
Yes.
don't be afraid to say, I researched this. Even if I went on that pill, what can we do to get me back off that pill and how long will it take? Because I don't want to take that pill and I might start there, but I'm going to get myself off of it. Make him your partner.
Yes.
My doctor and I have robust conversations every time I go to see her. And I research and she researches, and then we put our heads together and we come up with a solution. It can happen, but nobody knows you but you.
Yes, ultimately. Absolutely. Thank you, Cheryl, so much. You are a wealth of information. And thank you for all and everything that you do. I mean, just for this, for the information that you have shared so far in this show is great, is of great value for me. And I know for the speakers, the fellow speakers, and also the audience. So thank you again for your time. It's been an honor listening to you.
Thank you.
And if you have any last minute
I actually
remarks,
published an article this morning in Brave
yes,
Magazine, which is what my speech was last week in Scottsdale. Why, if you have a business, if you're not taking care of your body, what are you building? Because
yes,
in the end, your balance sheet's going to go out of whack and you're going to lose it all, which is what I almost did. I went bankrupt personally. My business didn't go bankrupt, but it could have when I could no longer manage it because I hadn't taken care of myself. So that article is on my website, on my blog, and I also have an earlier one of all the things as a business owner you need to pay attention to. You need to
yes,
get up every morning and have a conversation with your body. You need to practice gratitude every morning. And you need to make it an action verb. You need to tell your employees, your customers, everybody how grateful you are for them, because that will dramatically improve every business relationship that you have. You
indeed.
need to eat right so that you have brain power and you don't have brain fog and you have creativity and you have even moods. It's a whole list of things, and it's all in my article. There's 2 articles on Brain Magazine in my blog, and you can read them both to get direction in terms of how to take care of you.
Yes, ultimately, that is, you answer the question, Cheryl, without me asking it. Like, how do you generate profit while creating impact? And by taking care of yourself, you can be that impact, like making impactful difference in your body and then for the rest of the world. So thank you again
Thank you for
so much.
having me. I obviously love to talk about this. So
Yes, yes. And we love having you. And thank you so much for your contribution in the work that you do.
thank you. One of the articles